first thing for me is that I had to clue in on my physical state that happened in correlation with different emotions. So I started noticing when I had that tightness in my chest, when I started to have that anxiety, when I'd start to feel that uneasiness, I had to get back into my body. I had to physically be present in my body, bring my mind from out here thinking about everything, all the places that I need to be, all the people that I needed to talk to, all the things that I needed to do, the laundry, the chores, whatever it was up here that my mind's just running around, living in the past and in the future. I had to bring my mind back into my body and become aware of my physical state during different situations. So I like the feelings of that ease, peaceful, happy, blissful, relaxed state. And that's where I really am striving to live my life 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, regardless of what's happening around me. I want the world to I want to be in so aware of myself that no matter what is happening around me, if the world around me starts crumbling, the world around me ceases to exist, picture worst case scenario in your mind right now, if that was happening, that I could still choose to be happy and at peace and accepting of the situation. So in order to do that, I got to master myself. That's the number one thing. I want where no matter what happens, nobody can push my buttons, where nobody has control over my emotional state, where I solely choose my emotional state. So this is where I started noticing my addictions, and I started being able to break the patterning, break my participation in it. I cannot control what choices other people make. I can't control what the weather's going to do. I can't control what anybody on the streets are going to do. I can't control what my husband's going to do or my family members. I cannot control what anybody else is going to do. However, I have full control over how I choose to respond to those things and how I choose to allow those things to affect me. And also, as I got shown this whole concept of emotional addictions, I realized everybody is operating this way. If I knew that the person that I was dealing with had a drug addiction, and when they're under the influence of the drug, they make very poor decisions and they're not themselves, I would find it kind of easier, or I think as a society, we kind of find it easier to deal with that person. Okay, they have a drug addiction, they have a problem, and whenever they're under the influence of it, they're a totally different person. When they're not under the influence, we love them, we care about them, they're a wonderful person, but under the influence, they're just crazy. I say the same thing is true with our emotional state. And if we cannot maintain a peaceful environment, a peaceful emotional state within us, I mean, who would choose anything other than that? Would any of y'all choose anything other than just to be happy and peaceful? I don't know anybody who really likes that feeling of uneasiness. So I realized that just as a person who's addicted to an outside substance, just as they want to be good and they want to feel good and they want to be happy and they don't want to be controlled by this outside stimulus, that addiction drives their choices. And when they're under the influence, they are not the same person. So I started viewing everybody around me the same way. When people are happy, feel good, at peace, relaxed, guards down, defenses down, just being you, not threatened, not worried, not scared, people are really, really pleasant to be around. And I noticed that anytime people weren't pleasant to be around, I could see how either their defenses were up, they were being a little guarded, they were refusing to face the truth about themselves, they were fearful about my judgment or somebody else's judgment. There was always some kind of a fear that was going on with them. When that fear kicks in, that drug gets released. And you are now under the influence of a drug. It's internally created, which makes it a little bit more dangerous, if you ask me, because it's not something that's seen. Because you don't see somebody shooting up with drugs or popping pills or drinking alcohol or one of those outside stimulus. It's a little harder to detect. So I started looking at it as somebody who is sober is when they're being their calm, beautiful, loving, amazing, shining self that we're put here to be. And anytime that I wasn't getting that, I just look at them like they're an he's on a little rampage right now. He's under the influence of some crazy wackadoo chemical that's released in the body that's making him not make positive choices or serving choices, or stopping him from being kind to me, or stopping her from being, rational. Then I could change how I received what was coming from other people. So it's kind of like this. If you know someone's drunk, I know for myself, they might think that they make a whole ton of sense. They might think that they have got a great idea. They might think that bless you, that somebody's out to get them, or whatever it is. That's their drug-induced, alcohol-induced reality at the time. But if I know that someone's been drinking, I know not to really take them serious. And I know that I have my senses together more, and that there's no reason to take what they're saying personal, or to really get as frightened as they are, to really to get as emotionally invested as they are in a situation. So if I know how to do this with somebody whenever they've obviously been drinking or under the influence of an outside stimulus, then I just kind of took that same mentality and put it to everybody all the time, no matter the circumstances, no matter where we're at, no matter what's going on. And understanding that, first of all, an addict is not aware of their behavior when they're under the influence. I mean, they might hear about it afterwards, or even if they were privy to seeing a videotape of themselves, there's still, I believe, kind of like a separation between who they are and who they become under that influence of that drug. So an addict is unaware of what's going on. And I had to start dealing with people that way too, and say, okay, this is they're going to do whatever they need to do to get their fix. They're going to lie, cheat, steal, be nasty, rude, ugly, whatever, to get their fix. They're going to create whatever kind of drama, whatever kind of chaos, whatever is necessary in order to get their fix. Well, we're all doing that same thing all the time. And if we're not aware of it, we can confuse that crazy, strung-out addict for a loved one, or a spouse, or someone who's checking us out at the grocery store, or somebody who's standing in line with us at the grocery store. And we can confuse their actions for a truth instead of the reality that they are under the influence of a chemical-induced state. So it allows me to make different choices. And it also allowed me to better regulate what was going on inside of myself. So now if I see, this is why I say the last workshop that we did was all about radical love, and it was about how I really believe that love is the only truth. It's really the only thing that exists, and anything else, anything that's not feel good, happy, wonderful, positive in my line of preference, to me it's just an illusion. And this is the type of an illusion that I'm talking about. Since we would treat somebody different with that outside stimulus, then we need to understand that the internal stimulus is just as serious. And I would even say, and I don't know because I haven't done the research, but this is something that has occurred to me recently, it's not so much the drug itself that people get addicted to, it's the emotional state that happens under the influence of that drug. And when you're under the influence of that drug and you hit that emotional state, what do you think happens? That chemical gets released within your body. So to me, removing that outside stimulus, but not addressing the chemical stimulus that go inside in relation to the emotions, no wonder it's such a struggle to quit drinking, to quit smoking, to quit doing these drugs that have these chemical effects, because you can remove the outside stimulus, but you still got that inside stimulus. And that's, to me, probably more where the cravings and the Joneses come from, because it's such an unconscious, enrooted thing within us. It's something that we have felt literally our entire life, because we are emotional beings, and this is just a chemical process that takes place in the body. So when we can take it a step further and realize that it's not so much that outside influence of that drug, as much as that emotional state that happens inside the mind, which I think, because anybody that I've ever coached and worked with that kind of struggles with drugs or with alcohol, really what it is that they're looking for is that feel good that comes along with it. Well, if we have that chemical that gets released inside of our body, then any kind of high that we can feel from an outside stimulus, we're getting that feeling from within us, and our body has the ability to create it. So if you could simulate that same kind of feel-good state, that same bliss, euphoric state that happens drug-induced, if you could create that naturally within yourself without this outside stimulus, and and without these negative repercussions, wouldn't you opt for that instead? I think most people would, because they don't like the cycle that the addiction causes. They don't like who they are to their family members. They don't like the harm that they do to themselves. They don't like the negative, chaotic states that they put other people into. However, they're feeding an addiction. Totally feeding that addiction. And when they're in that state, they're not thinking at the same time as if they're free of that.